Hey guys, just want to go through a little brush example using Photoshop. Before I do, what I want to demonstrate, there's a few places you can pick up some of these brush elements. One site, there's one that I really like, is just kind of a blatant plug. Brush Easy is a very cool site that has a lot of just free brushes. You can borrow the shapes that they already have available to you on here. So it's some really nice examples of how they work. They show fancy edge brushes that have kind of patterns to them. Smoke, where if you use different colors, you get some pretty astounding effects. And different light traces and paint. There you go, glossy blood splatters, trees. So really cool stuff. On this site, they also have a collection of patterns, which for some people may be really helpful if you're not into making your own. So really nice collection of things on this site. So again, it's just brusheasy.com, like you see right there. Stupid name, cool brushes, as they say. All right, so I'm going to minimize this for the moment, and actually, in fact, we're going to grab an example flourish from a site, and I do want to demonstrate how to add that in to Photoshop. In fact, actually, I think I have one in here. Yeah, I'm just going to delete this from my set, just so that I'm recreating this, just so you see how to add them in. And what I'd like to do, we're just going to pull up a browser. I'm just going to bring the tab in, and I'm going to do a search. And what you're looking for is you're looking for a flourish. And if I go to image, I get a bunch of these different flourish swirls. There's tons of these out there. There's all kinds of different styles you can see there, just sort of really plain. Then you've got the real old style examples here as well. Some of them are really quite complete. This is a really nice example of just sort of the design that's used. I believe this is a Dell background or something similar. So I back out of there. And we can sort of take our pick. Now again, you can do free as well, which is probably a good idea for me, being that this is in a tutorial. And there's a free flourish right there. A little rough looking, but we'll take it. So if I right click, and I can choose copy, and it'll just copy the image where it sits. If you're using Firefox, it's just right click and you can do copy image right from the right click. So I'm just going to minimize this, and we'll go back to Photoshop. I'm just going to make a new document. Now whatever I have a copy of on the clipboard, you'll notice that it gives me the dimensions right there. Also is setting the right color model for that, so it's leaving it grayscale. So I'm going to change that to RGB actually. Doesn't really matter with a brush, it can stay grayscale, and in fact it has to stay in a grayscale mode. Now I thought I deleted that brush, but it's still turning up in my stylings here, so I'm just going to click something different. So what I want to do, I'm going to define that brush here, so I'm just going to choose Edit, Paste, and it drops that same object in. Now in order to add that to your brushes, so I'm just going to open up the brush panel so you can see where it goes. And what you do is you go to Edit, and it's under Define Brush Preset. It's going to give you a bit of a weird distortion because it's got to fit it into that square. So I could just call it Flourish 1. And there it is in my group. Now I'm going to make a new document that's bigger for me to paint in. Now again, I don't want it to be grayscale, which is what it keeps coming up with here. So I'm going to want to paint with color. So I'm going to change that to RGB. I'm going to switch this to web, and 1280 by 1024 is good. Hit OK. And I should be able to paint in here. Now I want to show you what happens if you just take the brush object as it is. And if I just paint, you get this really ugly, everything's the same size all the way through. Not terribly interesting or useful. So I'm going to go back. Now, what people overlook here in Photoshop is you do have a ton of options available to you. Now if I go to shape dynamic, for example, you'll notice I can change